Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone, and good evening to our honorable speaker, and good evening also to our beloved audience who participate in our webinar session tonight. Firstly, we would like to thankful and grateful to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala for gathering us on this occasion.
Today we are going to have a talk with our honorable speaker, Mr. Imade Wikandana, who has given his time as a speaker for our webinar series on empathy and inclusivity for the visually impaired topic.
And we would like to welcome his present on our session today, Mr. Wikan, in the middle of his business as a research assistant that graduated from one of the famous university in Indonesia, Brawijaya University. Before we start, my name is Nur Aina Islami. I'm IIUM student.
And my name is Alim Shah Muhammad Nabil, an IIM student. We will moderate the flow of this webinar. Today's session will be divided into four sequences, which are opening, interview, Q&A, and closing.
So, good evening, Mr. Wikan. How's life and how's everything?
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me here. It's really wonderful to be here and to talk with you guys, and looking forward to share more.
Very welcome, Mr. Wikan. How are you today?
Not too bad, actually. Apart from dealing with the pandemic situation, it's all good, actually.
Okay, hopefully in this pandemic situation, you and everyone here always be in a great condition, keep stay safe and healthy. So now everyone must be curious to know more and listen more about our speaker tonight. So could you introduce us about yourself in terms of your origin, education experience, and your position in your organization? Mr. Wikan?
Okay, thank you once again. My name is, like I said, I think the host already mentioned it. My name is Made Wikandana, but everybody can call me Wikan. I'm from Bali and I just graduated from University of Brawijaya, and now I'm currently working as a research assistant for the POGJA organization. It's actually a disabled people organization in Indonesia that specialize in disability policy and data gathering. So yeah, that's pretty much all about me. Besides I also do some of the stock market investing on the sidelines. So that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wikan. And just you just mentioned about your POGJA organization. Would you like to share more about your organization? When did you start your organization, and what are your responsibilities in that organization? Like that.
Well, actually, POGJA is a coalition. It's meaning that it's an organization that consists of many organizations that involve in a disability issue in Indonesia. So we have, you know, uh, organization for the hearing impaired individual, and we also have an organization for the physical mobility kind of restriction. So there's a lot of organization within this organization. So my responsibility would just to coordinate the data gathering for the project that we've been working on, which is we are trying to do the disability budgeting policy assessment, meaning that we need to conduct a research in order to gain the knowledge and also gain the data to help our country to make a better policy in terms of budgeting and also budget allocation for people with disabilities in Indonesia.
And also, when did you
Okay.
start the organization, POGJA organization?
My I applied for this position last August, and we've been working from home ever since. So I'm planning to be transferred in the next month. So we'll be working in the main office in Jakarta. So yeah, so I got accepted last August.
And
Wow.
since August you joined the organization, can you share us about your experiences and which one is the best experiences when you joined the organization and what challenges have you faced
Okay.
during working in that organization?
Actually, nothing been. It's been quite awfully quiet because we've been working from home. So I'm just doing some basic tasks, such as creating a document, like working on term of reference. We also have this seminar, online seminar that we uh, occasionally, it's occasionally take place. So I just do some basic secretary works. So there's nothing a lot to offer actually, but uh, things should be get more interesting in the next 2 or 3 months because I will be traveling to Jakarta to begin my work position. So I'm looking forward to that.
So, um, how have you helped person with disabilities, and what are your organization achievement?
Well, my organization achievement is actually is a bigger thing. If you think about it, the POGJA that I'm working with right now, it's uh, its role is to shape our disability policy in Indonesia, such as if you if you're familiar with the disability movement in Indonesia, we have this uh, law number 8 2016,
Number
and
8.
part of that law is actually has been that's actually the work of our organization, that's how the law was created.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
so we also have the ongoing involvement in the legislation policy, such as there's a lot of work actually. There's a lot of work, but mostly it's all about the law and policy regarding for the people with disabilities.
I see. Okay, so talking about disability, based on your experience in life, how has your disability affected you?
How has disability affected me?
Yes.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's like based on your experience in life in the past, how has your disability on your personality affected you in a person from
Well,
others?
actually, okay. So actually, nothing really affected me. All right. So disability did not really affect me. Nobody really affect me. Uh, but people define other people by their disability, but that's not how I see it. My involvement and my experience as being a disabled person is actually been great, although not that great. If you think about it, it's a lot of work. That's for sure. It's a lot of work being
Mhm.
blind because I'm visually impaired, but uh, it taught me some lesson that you should not depend on other people's help, and also you should be able to take care of your own self. And that's because during my year in college I was living by myself, so it really taught me how to live independently and also being disabled at the same time. So it really taught me a lot in terms of independency and also being tough as a human being.
Okay, so as an expert, of course, you're gonna have a biggest goals. Can you tell us like what is your biggest goal as an expert helping person with disabilities?
Uh, All right, that's actually a good question. My goal is my goal would be to help people with disabilities aware of their potential. You know, because there's a lot of people with disabilities out there. There's many of them. You know, each day there's newborn baby with disability, or even people just got into this world. So just remember that uh, just because you are disabled doesn't mean that everything is suddenly, it's not the end of the world. You still have hope, and actually people with disabilities can do pretty much everything. So I would like to see uh, my community to improve in terms of their financial literacy, like in terms of their financial needs, and also how they like perceive money and how they manage money. Really I'm like really passionate about all of these kind of things. So I would like to transfer my knowledge and also help my community to realize their potential, and also their how they could manage their money, so that they can live independently, and also not to be so dependent on other people.
Okay, the answer
Okay.
is quite interesting, yes, Aina. But would you share us about any detailed story that regarding your goal as an expert helping persons with disabilities that have been given you some inspirational stories like that?
Mhm.
Could you give us?
Well, yeah, there's been some accomplishment for sure. I had a huge role when I was in university to let one of the organization, the student organization that work with this kind of things. So I was the leader. So we help people with disabilities, especially students with disabilities, to access their academic services and their academic needs, and also to help them to get to know their surrounding in their new college. Because when you move into a new college, you just sometimes you get lost, right? So we help them to do some orientation, and that's what we've been doing. And also we also been doing my part in my organization. We also uh, conducted a lot of sign language training class. So teaching people how to do a sign language. We did it a lot during college. So uh, there's a lot of things. You know that's some of the things that uh, I can remember, I guess.
Okay. So there is another question. Is empathy
Hmm.
important before inclusion could happen? Can you share like your
Sorry,
opinion
sorry.
about
Can
that?
you repeat? Can you repeat what?
Is sorry, Mr. Rikat?
Yeah, you're breaking. Sorry. Can you repeat it?
Okay. The question is like, is empathy important before inclusion could happen? Maybe you can share your opinion about it.
Empathy. Yes. Sure. I mean, empathy is a biggest factor in this situation, because in order to aware of what other people's condition, you need to have empathy, right? Empathy is the
Yes.
key to any people's heart. And in terms of disability, uh, we need your empathy, but we don't need it too much. It's not like we really need it, but we also need to be independent, to be our own. But at the same time, it's good to have empathy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good to have empathy, but it's never been good to have too much empathy. If
Okay.
you get my message across. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes, I got it.
So do you agree that empathy has come or more important before inclusion?
Here's the thing, right? I think empathy is part of inclusion. You cannot have inclusion without empathy, and vice versa. You cannot have empathy without inclusion. But I mean, sometimes it could happen. But I guess you need to have empathy first, because empathy is a basic nature of a human being, right? If you lose empathy, I mean, basically you are a killer, right? You kill people, you don't have empathy. So I mean, empathy is for for the most part is really important. But also, usually when you involve empathy in your way of dealing with people, it usually will also lead to more inclusion towards society, I guess.
And you mentioned just now that empathy, too much empathy is quite not good for someone in terms of serving someone who has a disability. Could you share to us more about how is too much empathy in terms of serving someone
Sorry,
who has a disability?
can you repeat it, because it's
Okay.
there's
I'll
a bit
repeat
of
it.
some noise in the
So,
background, so you can really
so
pick
you,
it up.
so you mentioned just now that it is not it is quite not good when you have too much empathy for person who has
Uh-huh.
to serve person who has a disability. Could you explain to us how is too much empathy? Too much empathy. How is it?
Yes. What I was saying about too much empathy was, when you have too much of a something, I mean, it basically, too much of a something is never good. Like, you have to be able to meet the balance. You know what I mean. Like, uh, empathy is good, but too much empathy can interfere with uh, the independence of people with disability. Because people care too much, right? People care too much, and that it could prevent the people with disabilities from having their potential, right? They just prohibit blind people, I don't know, wheelchair user to go out of their own because they have too much empathy. Your mom could have too much empathy and not let you go outside, and well, of course your mom probably has her reason to not letting you go outside, but then too much empathy is never been good. It's never been, you have to meet the consideration, everything in consideration. That's what other people would say, because empathy, especially if you're talking about people with disability, because our society usually see people with disability with much of a stereotype and stigma, and you have this empathy, too much empathy, it could prevent them from having 100% of their life. So, but it's all about the balance, man. You have to meet the balance, I guess.
So, can we say if we give too much empathy to someone, so the environment or the condition of the environment will not show the inclusivity, so balance in the society? Can we say it? Do you
Uh-huh.
agree with
Yeah,
that stance?
yeah. Actually, it's really hard to figure out what you are saying because there was noise in the background. But what I was trying to say is just, you have to be tough, right? In order to be tough, you need to have less empathy, right? Like, our world is a mean place. Everybody will not be kind at you. So having too much empathy could really undermine your toughness, I would say. uh, it it makes you less anxious about what's coming ahead of you, and in doing so, it makes you not prepared for taking care of what's in front of you and dealing with problem, because you will always depend on other people to solve your problem, and that's not good.
So, the inclusion condition in one environment, let's say in uh, our condition in Indonesia, if someone
Mhm.
give too much empathy to people who have a disability, we can say it is an inclusive situation or society.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a good point. What if it happened in Indonesia? I mean, uh, I've been I've been living with disability for like 8 years now. So uh, I never really given much thought about empathy because I'm just always going out of my life, just doing whatever I want. I mean, people will give me empathy without me ever needing it. So, uh, like I said before, inclusion is a good thing, but then empathy is also can be poisonous. It could be it could have a negative impact on your personal being. Like I said before, it's best to have it in a 50-50% scale. You have it, but you don't have it too much. You know what I mean? It's like uh, living in Indonesia. Usually, people not give a lot of empathy toward people with disability, and that's bad. But also, that's make people with disability in Indonesia much more tougher than if you compare it with other people that is living in, I don't know, maybe in the States or in the US. But I mean that's just my opinion, right? So that's just my humble opinion, I guess.
Okay, that was
Because
a
yeah.
very impressive stance actually. So I was impressed by your stance also. And for the last question, maybe do you have any advice for anyone who wants to be an expert or giving some motivation or campaign to work like you, just like to work like you.
Yeah, something like tips maybe you can give to us.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of tips that I would give because you are not me and I'm not you. I mean, but I always see that living with disability, some people will think it's really inspiring, because we got this all of this achievement. I mean, I went to college and people were just really amazed because I went to college. Like, I don't know what's wrong because people are just amazed that other people went to college, especially people with disabilities. So what I was trying to say is just living with disability is not inspiring. Being disabled is not inspiring, but if you do something, you do something and you put a lot of effort, regardless whatever your condition, race or ethnicity, you will achieve it if you put 100% effort into it. So being focused and just persistent, you persist, you persevere, right? You persevere because you you passionate about your something. I believe that everybody got their own passion, right? If you're passionate about something and you really work into it, you put 10,000 effort into it, just it will happen. It will happen, regardless whatever your condition. So yeah, that was I was trying to say.
Okay, that was impressive and amazing talk that we heard from you. As we can see here, actually there is a very long way to be someone as you, Mr. Weekend. That's so amazing. However, we got a lot of points here. We could conclude and take a note that can motivate us from Mr. Weekend, which is there is nothing impossible in this world to stop us to reach our dreams as long as we keep believing, focusing, and patient by trying it again and again. And disability is actually is not a problem in our life. It's no matter like how our situation and condition, it just based on our self that we really want to do it or know like how we focus to reach our goals. So uh, and also another thing is empathy is the key for ourselves, right, Mr. Weekend? we need to have empathy, but it's not too much. So it's not good to have too much empathy, and it's not good also when we don't have empathy. So that's all the point that we got from you. And before we end our session, it will be pleasure for our beloved audience. If there is any question, you can type in our column comments, and also you can turn on your microphone if there is anyone want to ask.
If everyone have a question, you can just type in our chat column or just turn on your microphone and go ahead ask the question. Well,
Hello, Mr. Wikan. Can I ask
Yes,
you something? I believe you have
sure.
some software application about the Sobat Difabel, and
Uh,
you have some Sobat Difabel. You are working about that, the application?
uh, sorry. You you are asking about the application that I'm using.
Yes, yeah, about the Sobat Difabel. You working on
Oh
that?
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
We that's actually my one of the project that we've been working on. It's called Sobat Difabel. So we're planning it. We're planning to make it as a startup. So it's actually in it's very it's on it's very on it's still on development. So it's a like a technological technology platform. I don't know how to say it, but it's it's not a startup, but it will be a startup. So we're trying to create a platform where other non-disability could help people with disability in their daily mobility or their daily uh, in basically in their daily life.
Yes,
So
I
yeah,
think
thank you for
that
mentioning that.
yeah, that I think that's the one and only application that make for the disabled. Could you more elaborate why you think that this startup or applicable application can do more with the disabled?
Yeah, yeah, because this is based on my experience. I always struggle whenever I go. For example, I want to go to the cinema or I want to go to visit the park. To just basically to access the public infrastructure. We just struggle a lot because there are many. There are many accessibility. There's not really friendly for people with disabilities. So what we were thinking is just how we can make people help other people with disability through apps. You know, it's
Mm,
it's
yes,
uh,
yes.
it, it's like if you order a taxi through Gojek or Grab, but now you can order volunteers through this app that will help you on your daily needs. That's uh, the starter of our this thing with Sobat Difabel. Just to how to connect people with other people that need help.
Yeah, that's very good. But I want to know how these disabled people self, uh, what their reaction was with this application. They are
Yeah,
enjoying something like that.
yeah, because it's only been for 3 months or 4 months already. So we haven't really
Right.
tested the app. So what we've been doing actually is to train our volunteers. So we just open a recruitment project where we recruit people that would like to help these people. So we have a volunteers now. So what we do is just to train them to how to do the sign language, how to interact with people with disabilities. So we've been doing this all of these lessons online, but after we finish with this, we are planning to roll out the application maybe probably next year, and then trying to get the reaction from people with disabilities. So actually, we haven't really done uh, the the rollout yet.
So what about the government? Do they caring what is with your project?
Yeah, this is actually interesting because we've been looking for an investor to help on our project, because this is actually very uh, it requires a lot of resource, right, to run an application and also to train these volunteers. So we've been only use our own resource. So uh, it's been quite a bad year for someone Liverpool, because we need to cover all of the costs and all of the the seminar, the teaching, and also the training for our volunteers all by myself. So we're actually hoping that the government would take notice, or maybe like a private institution would take notice and trying to help us to build this thing so that we can help a lot more people in the future. So I mean, at the moment, there hasn't been any contact from the government yet about this ongoing project.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Wikan. You are very helpful
Thank you
for
so
the
much. That's
disabilities.
actually it was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the question and the answer, Mr. Wikan. And there is another question from Nurul Anisafia. How did you manage your life when you first become disabled? Because I heard that you said you started becoming disabled around 8 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for reminding me again. Yeah, it was during my first year in junior high. It was tough at first. It was to uh, to adjust with my new life, and I suddenly lost some of my friends. Well, actually, I wouldn't call it friends, since they left me, but uh, it was hard. But then, this is what family are for, right? You have all these people loving you and support you 24/7. I got my mom, I got my dad, I got basically my family to keep me in check, and to support me all the way through. And yeah, now I think I made it, but I mean, I haven't, but it was quite a transition, being able to see and not being able to see all in one year. So uh, I was, like I said before, I was not much a, I actually did a lot of reading, a lot of meditation to help me to figure out myself and to keep me in check, and I'm still doing it. So yeah, it takes time. That's what I was trying to say. It takes time to adjust to your new condition.
Okay, that's a very deep answer. So we can go to another question from people do to overcome those who always look down on them.
To look down on them. this is actually yeah, very interesting. I always think that I always think this way. When I don't know, people stare at me or anything because I can see them, right? So that's actually the advantage of me because I'm not being able to see them, so I don't care what they are doing and what they are. If they're staring at me, I just don't care because I can see them. But if somehow I know people would stare at me, just look down on me, I just assume that they probably are taking notes just how to be a badass because I always, I was confident of myself. If people look down on you, it means that you haven't proved yourself, right? You need to prove yourself. A world is a mean place, like I said before. You need to prove yourself. I have experienced a lot of people look down on me because of my disability, but that doesn't refrain me from doing it. I just did it. If people uh, if people just look down on me because I cannot give a presentation, then I just do it. I just get to the front of the class and I just do it. I don't care if my uh, my body language is not correct, it's not fit for the presentation. I just if you have a confidence and you believe in yourself, you don't have to believe in what they are thinking. You just have to believe in yourself because you cannot you cannot really shape what other people think of you. That's their thinking. That's my I think my best advice. You cannot please everybody. You only able to direct your line of thought. You yourself will control you. You cannot control other people.
I see. Okay. So is
Yeah.
that answering your question, Hanan Sophia? Okay, I will take it as a yes for that. So there is another question from Mawar Yudiana Muhammad. What is the best achievement you ever achieved? The best
It would be to sold my stock this week and I got quite a buck, so that was my biggest achievement. But anyway, I I had a quite experience of traveling by myself. I went to international conference in other countries by myself, so that was actually a quite an experience for me. And being able to go to college uh, and actually finish it earlier before anyone, so it's actually also an achievement. I'm waiting for my next achievement actually, so I'm creating more achievement as I go along the way, so never satisfied. That's what I was trying to say. I'm trying
Yeah,
not to
so
answer the question for too long, so that's why.
okay, it's okay, Mr. Wikan. Okay, Hanan Sophia just answered it, and she gave you some support.
Well, thank you, really appreciate that.
Okay, so another okay, and there is another question from Mawar. What is your advice to disabled people and able people?
My advice, I think I
Yeah.
already covered it a lot. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Believe in what you are doing. If you had enough with college, then quit college. I mean, you serve your own life. You know what I mean? You do not serve other people's life. I always think that when I become a disability, become blind, people told me to become a teacher, and I was like, man, I don't want to become a teacher. You know, just because becoming a teacher will ensure me to get a permanent job and a good life doesn't mean that I will follow those advice, right? I mean, you have to choose your own path and responsible with your own life, and that's how you make your life worth it. You only live once, like YOLO. But
Yes, that's true.
do not spend it on like drugs or anything. Just responsible with your own life. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Okay, that was a very long story and very long way to get to know about Mr. Weekend. I hope every question and been answered, and I think this webinar has come to the end. So thank you to our amazing speaker, Mr. Weekend. Thanks
Well, thank you
also.
for having.
Okay, Mr. Bukan. And thank you so much for our audience who have been participant and joining from the beginning until the end. Alhamdulillah, thanks to Allah for the good running out this session today. Finally, for all that has been explained, I remember one of the saying from Kate Bornstein. Let's stop tolerating or accepting difference as if we are so much better for not being different in the first place. Instead, let's celebrate difference because in this world it takes a lot of guts to be different. Okay,
Okay, finally,
finally, I'm Aina.
and I am Nabil. Until next time, goodbye.
Nabil,
See you.
your mic, I think.
Okay, finally, I am
Okay,
Nabil.
I'm Aina.
Until
Until
next
next
time,
time,
goodbye.
goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.